Yo, what's going on, everyone? So, over this past week, the Shado-Pan talents, hero talents, have come out for Brewmaster and Windwalker Monk. So I just wanted to go over them real quick and give my thoughts on it for Brewmaster and see what I think about it. So this will be the first one. This is just Shado-Pan. When they come out with the Mastery of Harmony hero talents, I'll go over those as well. So, the first node that we'll get access to is Overwhelming Flurry. So this is where dealing damage equal to your maximum health generates a flurry charge, and then every time you spend 400 energy, you're going to unleash all of those flurry charges as flurry strikes, which deal physical damage per charge generated. So that's just going to be like the first thing that we get access to and what everything in the tree kind of is based around. So scrolling down to the first node on the left then, we have our first choice node, which is Pride of Pandaria, which means that flurry strikes have a 15% additional chance to critical strike. And then we have a second choice there, which is High Impact, and this says that enemies who die within 5 seconds of being damaged by a flurry strike explode, dealing damage to uncontrolled enemies within 8 yards. So I assume that just means things that like aren't CC'd, like hard CC'd. Now this kind of feels like they're trying to base it off like Diablo 3 Monk, except for, you know, like, we're not going to, even in keys, we're not going to have enemies that are dying very often within 5 seconds of, you know, being damaged. So unless that's like a huge amount, I'm pretty sure we're just going to go with Pride of Pandaria in almost all situations, both keys and raid. Now moving over to the middle. Here, the first node in the middle part is Controlled Instincts. This says striking the same target 5 times within 2 seconds grants 2% haste, and multiple instances of this effects may overlap, stacking up to 10 times. Now, I'm assuming this is going to count things like if we have Rushing Jade Wind up, if we have things like, you know, if we use Spitting Crane Keck where it's impacted by Charred Passions, things like just having Breath of Fire on the target. So I'm assuming we're always going to get like 2 hits of something going on there, and then you can always have like Spinning Crane Kick and Blackout Kick and another Spinning Crane Kick going, and I think that's going to mean, boom, we're hitting that really quickly. Now, it doesn't really say how long this haste stacks for, because it just says stacking up to 10 times, so it's possible that we sit at 20% haste once we, you know, build up to it. But it's also possible that, you know, this has like a 6-second, you know, where it doesn't, you know, re-up itself every single time it applies, which means that like we have it for like 6 seconds and maybe just have like 10% haste. So either way, haste isn't super great for us as Brewmasters, so it's not really like a big deal. If we do get 20% haste from this, it just means that we want even less haste than we've had before. And if it isn't that, then, you know, either way it doesn't really affect us. Like, it's just going to be like free damage. It doesn't affect us much, but it'll give us like more chances to cake smash and things that are affected by our, you know, haste. Alright, moving over to the right, we've got Martial Precision, and this is just that attacks penetrate 10% of the target's armor. Now, almost every single enemy has armor, you just can't see it. There used to be like Armor Pen in the game back in the day. They got rid of that stat, so this will just mean that all of our attacks that are physical based will do more damage, which is just, you know, a straight damage increase, so nothing bad to say about that. Obviously won't attack like our spell-based attacks like Breath of Fire, probably not Jade Wind, right, stuff like that. Alright, let's scroll down and let's go back over to the left again. We have another choice node over here on the left. So, on the left we have Protect and Serve, which means that Vivify always heals you for an additional 30% of its total value. Now, even when I use Vivify, which is in keys like to help off-heal, normally it's not us that needs the healing on Vivify, it's normally other people that we're trying to Vivify, so that's, I don't think, going to be super helpful. The second one though, Lead from the Front, gives us Chi Burst, Chi Wave, and Expel Harm now leech 20% of damage dealt. So this will actually be really big for our Expel Harms, and then anytime that we have that like random global every 15 seconds during raid that we need to hit Chi Wave, it just means that, you know, it'll help out a little bit more. So As far as Expel Harm goes, this will be big, whether it's in Keys or Raid, probably more impactful in Keys, but Lead for the Front is probably going to be the one that we're going to want here instead of Protect and Surf. Now let's move back over to the middle part of the tree here. We've got one versus many. This just says that damage dealt by Fist of Fury or Keg Smash count as double towards Flurry Charge generation, meaning that, you know, if you hit a single target and your Keg Smash did 12k, now it's going to do 24k. But if you're in Keys and you're hitting multiple targets with Keg Smash and it would have done a total of, let's say, I don't know, 50k between all targets hit, it's now going to do 100k between all targets hit. So that's good. And then as a secondary on here, for Windwalker, Fist of Fury damage is going to be increased by 10%. And for us, as Brewmasters, Keg Smash is going to be increased by 30%, which is huge. This is kind of like, we had the, I believe it was a legendary back in Shadowlands that made it so that where Keg Smash had that second charge and did 30% more damage. So this will give us that 30% more damage on Keg Smash, which when you count the fact that it's now going to count double towards Flurry Charge generation, right? And like how much damage was done towards generating those Flurry Charges, that's going to, you know, double dip on itself, which will be pretty nice. So either way, flat damage increase to Keg Smash, and then, you know, it's going to increase our Flurry strikes that we're going to have, that this is all kind of based around. Alright, let's move over to the right tree again. So over on the right, we've got Whirling Steel, and this says, when you become injured, summon Whirling Steel, increasing your parry chance and avoidance by 15% for 6 seconds. Now again, this doesn't have values on it, so becoming injured could mean anything from just getting hit to going below 30% health. I'm thinking it's probably going to be going below 30% health, or it could be kind of like our talent near the Brew statue, where, you know, it's like if you took more than 20% of your health, right? That might be what it means by taking damage. So either way, doesn't sound super helpful, especially when you look at the second one. So the second choice on the note is Predictive Training. And this one says, when you dodge or parry an attack, you'll reduce damage taken by 10% for the next 6 seconds. Now again, there's no, you know, numbers on this for like what the internal cooldown is, but if this is just straight anytime you dodge or parry, basically in Keys, this will be up almost all the time. I mean, one hit of Blackout Kick, you know, is going to give us in single target 1 to 2 charges, right? And in AoE, it's going to give us 4, which means the next time that we get hit, assuming you've got 25% mastery, or around 20% mastery, you're pretty much going to dodge. So if this is just any time we dodge or parry, this is going to be super nice, because this will mean we just take 10% less damage, basically, once we're in combat. But I'm assuming there's going to be like an internal cooldown on this. But either way, it'll still mean, you know, however often it happens, basically, we'll have it as often as the internal global cooldown is. So if it's every 10 seconds, then hey, you know, we get 10 seconds of taking 10% less damage every 10 seconds. So Predictive Training seems pretty good, especially in Keys, and again, same thing in Raid, honestly. You know, as soon as we pick up the boss, we taunt swap, that's probably going to activate, because we're going to dodge the first melee against us because of all the stacks of our mastery we're going to have from not currently tanking. Alright, let's go down again, and let's go down to the bottom left again. So over here, we've got Against All Odds in the left tree. So this is the last one on the left. So this one says that Flurry Strikes increases your agility by 1%, for 6 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. Now again, this doesn't say whether it's going to reset every 6 seconds or if it's going to, you know, just kind of stack up. This will be kind of interesting because it's relying on us spending 400 energy to have Flurry Strikes go out, and it specifically says Flurry Strikes, not Flurry Charges, because remember, you know, dealing damage equal to our maximum health generates a Flurry Charge, but it's not till we hit that 400 energy spent that we have the Flurry Strikes go out. So this, to me, seems probably like we're not going to get super high on stacks with this, because getting 400 energy spent within 6 seconds will be kind of hard, I think, actually. You know, we've got, what, Keg Smash, Spinning Crane Kick, and Tiger Palm that spend energy, and none of those spend more than 50. So in order to get to 400, even if we just like spam the ones that cost 50, we're only at 300 energy spent over a 6-second period. So hopefully the numbers will change on that, or otherwise it's going to only end up being like 1% agility, because it's only going to stack up once. So we'll see what happens with that. I have a feeling that the seconds on this will be changed, or maybe it'll be changed to be based on gaining flurry charges instead of actually attacking with the flurry strikes. Because if it's based on generating flurry charges, then this means we will quickly stack this up, and it'll depend on whether that 6 seconds is repeatable, or if it's just going to be like, hey, you have it for 6 seconds, and then it starts again for 6 seconds, and it's just however high you can get it up. So I'm hoping this means it'll be changed to be flurry charges instead of flurry strikes, but we'll see once it goes live, and we can test it on like things like PTR and the beta. All right, moving over back to the middle tree again, we've got efficient training. So this says that energy spenders deal an additional 15% damage, which is great. That means our Cake Smash, Tiger Palm, Spinning Crane Kick. And then it says that every 50 energy spent reduces the cooldown of Storm, Earth, and Fire, and Serenity for Windwalker, and then for Weapons of Water for Brewmaster. This could be potentially really huge, especially if we switch our capstone node for Weapons of Water to be where we get it reduced based on how many enemies the like explosion hits or whatever, because this could mean that we could get Weapons of Water down to being like up every minute, which would be really huge for like Cake Smash, and having it up with every other one of our White Tiger statues means that we might have the extra mastery for extra damage going into like exploding keg. So it can mean a lot of different things. Overall, in keys, I think this is good. This will be a reason for me to start taking Weapons of Order in key. I know a lot of people already do take Weapons of Order, but it would justify taking that, again, just based on having efficient training here, instead of having like the option. Alright, moving over to the bottom right then, we've got Vigilant Watch, and this says that our Blackout Kicks deal an additional 20% critical damage, and increase the damage of our next set of Flurry Strikes by 10%. So this is big because, we're going to be... I don't know if this is going to stack to being like stacking Flurry Strikes by 10%, or if it's just going to be 10%. If it doesn't stack, then it just means we're always going to have the next Flurry Strikes hit for 10% more damage. And also, Blackout Kick having 20% more damage whenever it crits is going to be nice, especially because as Brew, we really like crit, so that'll be really nice. So altogether, just a damage increase, and seems, pretty nice. Alright, going down to the very bottom, this will be the last node that we get here. This is Wisdom of the Wall. So this says that every 10 Flurry Strikes become infused with Wisdom of the Wall for 20 seconds. And what happens with that is that your critical strikes deal an additional 30% damage. Pretty sweet. Your mastery effect is increased by 25%. So that means extra damage and extra chance to dodge, which is pretty huge. We like mastery, we like crit, that's nice. Our versatility now will also be increased. Also increases your dodge and crit strike chance by 25% of its effect. So, right now, I know this is Season 3, right? But right now I'm sitting at like 40% crit, 40% verse, and 20% mastery. So that would mean that like if this applied today, we would have, instead of 20% mastery, we'd have 45% mastery. We'd have the 40% crit, 40% verse. But then when the verse comes in and gives us an extra 25% of the verse, that's meaning an extra 10% crit. So that would give us that like 50% crit, 40% verse, and 45% mastery, which is very nice. And that's going to be every 10 times Flurry Strikes comes out, which, again, probably it's going to take about 8 seconds for a Flurry Strike to come out. So it's not going to be all the time, but let's say if you're in combat just like the whole time, probably once every minute and a half this will go off. So that'll be a nice little 20% buff that we get every minute and a half. It'd be more ideal if it lined up every minute, right? But every minute and a half, that's super sweet. And then the very last thing on here, it says the Flurry Strikes now deal additional shadow damage to all uncontrolled enemies within 6 yards. This will be huge, especially in keys. Just means we're doing more damage, generating more threat. So, and it sounds like, I guess that's part of Wisdom of the Wall, right? So that's only when that's up. But still, that's going to be like a huge damage window, huge like defensive window for us. I mean, we'll take extra healing because of our crit and stuff. So I think this will be really nice. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this tree for the Shado-Pan. Let me go ahead and zoom it back out. So this is Shado-Pan for Brewmaster again. Overall, seems pretty good. It mostly seems to be based on dealing damage. It does have some of that dodge interaction and taking 10% less damage, which seems pretty good. So overall, I like it. I think it sounds pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also really looking forward to see what Master of the Harmony is going to be about. So let me know what you guys think. Are you looking forward to being a Shado-Pan? Are you more like kind of sad that we didn't get Conduit of the Celestials, like having something being based around like having Nuzio out, or maybe even seeing like a White Tiger summon? Like that could have been kind of cool. But what are you thinking about Shado-Pan? What are you thinking about Master of Harmony? Are you sad that we didn't get Conduits of the Celestials? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it. If you want to subscribe, that helps me out as well too. You'll be able to get access to my content when I put it out all the time. But other than that, I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya!